those slides. I think you might have them, but under, let's see, do you have them or not? Let's see this. Let's go back to here. This is a test. I mean, this is the exam. Let's go back to home. Let's see what you have. Do you have resources? No, you don't have them here. But I'll try to provide you with the slides. Now, one more thing, or one other thing, is if we go to here. So I think there's something where you can request an extension for your homework. Maybe not here. Extension request. Okay, so if you don't get it done on time, you can get an extension, but there's a penalty. Penalty is probably 10%. Okay? So don't do that on a regular basis, because 10% means a full grade difference, right? If you did that every time, then even if you got a perfect score, you wouldn't get an A+, right? So don't do that regularly, but sometimes it might happen. And the way that works is there's a certain window of time when you can request the extension. So it's usually about within a week of when the assignment was due. Then you can request the extension. After that, you can't even request it. And then once you've requested the extension, you usually have 10 days from then to do that homework. Okay, is that clear? Are there any questions so far? Okay, so this is the book. This is the website and the book. And maybe we should just look at this book for a second, just to see that you can read the book. I mean, it's always good. Every book, every author is different, right? Every person is different. Every person thinks about things in slightly different ways, so they're going to present things, sort of the way they think about it. And so it takes some time to get used to, to figure out how this particular, or any particular author is presenting it. Maybe you don't know that because you haven't read so many books, but I think it's true. So let's just read what he says, just to see his way he's styled, the way this book is. So he says, this is called Functions and Applications. So functions from the numerical, algebraic, and graphical point of view. So anyway, okay. I'll go there. And then to go to the next page, you have to do this. So let's just read the first paragraph. To analyze recent trends in spending on mobile advertising and to make reasonable projections, we need a mathematical model of this spending. So what's the problem that he's talking about here? What's he trying to do? Analyze recent trends in spending on mobile advertising. Well, who does it? Where can you get? Where can you do advertising? Where? Where? Yeah, I mean, like, when do you see advertising? Well, you see it on the road, right? But where do most of us spend a lot of time? On the internet, right? So you see a lot of advertising, and of course on your phone you might see some advertising, right? And so where does that, of course Facebook, for example, right? Or Instagram or whatever else, right? There's lots of advertising there, right? So that's advertising. And if you want to do advertising, you have to contact Google or you have to contact Facebook, and you have to pay. Right? Anyway, but they want to analyze trends in spending on mobile advertising. So they need some data, of course, and I don't know where they're going to get that data, right? It seems pretty hard to get that data, but you might be able to convince Facebook to give you some, but I doubt it. I don't know where else you can get it, but maybe there's some data available. Anyway, to do that, to analyze the trends and to make reasonable projections. What's that mean, projections? Projections means to guess about what's going to happen later in the future, right? You want to make projections about the future. We need a mathematical model of this spending. So we want some kind of so-called model, mathematical model of the spending. So where do we start? To apply mathematics to real-world situations like this. What's this mean, real-world situation? So you have math, and then you have the real world, right? So you have the math, but you want to use it somewhere in the real world. Where do we start? To apply mathematics to real-world situations like this, we need a good understanding of the basic mathematical concepts. Sounds reasonable. Perhaps the most fundamental of these concepts is that of a function, a relationship that shows how one quantity depends on another. Okay, so that's what he's doing here. Okay, so we're going to talk about that right now, but I just want to show you that you can read the book, right? It makes sense, right? Sometimes you have to read it carefully, you might have to read it several times, maybe you don't understand what he's talking about, but there is some sense in the book, right? So you might want to read the book, okay? Instead of just trying to do the homework problems, since it's written clearly, but it does take time to do that. Okay, finally, I get back to the syllabus, and I wanted to say that you can see that you have a bunch of homework problems to do, right? I think it's about 300 problems. I'm not really sure how many there are. Okay, so the test here and the final exam here are just going to be some subset of those problems. In other words, what I'm going to do is just copy those problems and put them in the test and in the final. Nothing new, nothing different, nothing other than those homework problems are going to be in the final exam. Okay, I'm not going to surprise you with different stuff. It's just going to be that. I'm doing that for two reasons. One is I'm lazy. I don't want to do the other. And the other is I want you to know exactly what's on the final, and I want to encourage you to do the homework and understand it properly. So for those two reasons, that's the way I'm going to do it. Okay? So that's what the final exam is going to be, basically. It's going to be those, not going to be all 300, it's going to be about 30 of them. Okay? The final exam is only going to be, only include the material after the 7th class. So 7th class, we're going to have a test on everything before the 7th class, and then the final exam will be everything, I guess, from the 7th class to the last class. Okay? And the homework. It's going to be the homework. Yes, and you had a question?
Professor?
Yeah.
How about the values? Will they remain the same?
No. In fact, in the homework itself, the values change. I think every time we try it, it changes, or every 3 times or something like that. Okay, so no, the values will not be the same. Fortunately, the system that we're using by WebAssign changes everything all the time. So that's good. Okay? Any questions about the test, homework, final exam? Yes?
About the quizzes?
Yes.
When will the quizzes?
The quizzes are just going to be like pop quizzes during class. So you have to pay attention to what I'm saying, because I'll be giving you quizzes about what I said. Like, I'll speak for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then I'll say, okay, now let's have a quiz. Okay? And you're going to do it with your phone, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Yeah?
Professor, sorry, and how about the attendance conditions?
Attendance?
Yeah.
Attendance, now, it doesn't say anything about attendance here, right? So it looks like attendance doesn't count in your grade, right? But it's not quite true, because if you miss more than 3 classes, the APU official policy is
Okay.
bad. Is you could fail. Okay, so beyond that, attendance doesn't count, but in that sense, attendance counts. Okay? Okay. Yeah, any other questions? Okay, so how do we do these quizzes, by the way? So there's this Socrative software, so you can try and download it now. See if you can get it. Do it on your phone. Look it up. Look up the app. You can see if you can get it right now. So it's spelled S-O. Spelled like that. Socrative. Okay? And you do the student version, and I do the teacher version so that we can, so it works right. So I go to the teacher version, and I log in. And you do on your mobile phone, and it will ask you for the classroom, which you can see it's written there. It's 527048. Right? 527048. Okay, let's try it. So, can you find the app? Okay. So let's just try it once and see what happens. So what question should I ask you? I should ask you... What did we just talk about? Anything? Okay, how much does the book cost? Okay. Let's just try it. Obviously, if you don't remember, that's okay, but let's just try it. Okay, so this is the way I do it. I'm not going to usually show you this, but I'll just show you how it works. Okay. So I'll write a question, and I'm going to click this which says require student names. So you're going to have to put in your name, but since I want to show you the responses, and I don't want to embarrass anybody, don't put in your name, put in your student ID instead. Okay, nobody will probably recognize you by your student ID, unless that person's name is... What was the name of that guy? Did you watch that TV show? What's the name of that TV show? God, I can't remember. With Meghan Markle. The girl that's going to get married to Prince Harry. You don't know this? What? Anyway, there's a TV show. It's a popular TV show. Anyway, there's a guy who's a lawyer who has a photographic memory in there. So he'd probably remember your ID, but most people won't. So in that case, just use use your ID. Okay, so once I click start, then you should appear on your phone the question, and you can enter it. Seven weeks worth of Baito. It's not very much Baito. Okay? So does everyone understand how we're going to do this? Okay, so I'll write a question on the board, or I'll write it in that little system, and then you just give the answer, and that will be quizzes. Okay? Okay, so, and then I can do this, by the way, just to show you. I can say finish, and I can get the report, and I can get it as a download or as an email, and then I can see the results, like that. Okay? So we'll do that. Okay, now, I'm always trying to figure out how I can possibly teach this in a more modern way. The modern way is, the trend in teaching is to have like group activity and people sharing their opinions, and I can't really figure out how to do that in this class. But if you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear them, because I've thought about it and I just can't think of a good way to do it. But you may have some good ideas. So I tend just to talk a lot and ask you to listen. Now, that's not actually a great way to learn in reality. It's not great. The better way is for people either to do work, sit down and do problems, or actually the best way is for me to ask you to do the work that I'm doing, which is to come up and give lectures. That's actually the best way to learn. I promise you it's true. You never have done it, probably not anyway, but I promise you that if you are charged with that, to do that, you will really learn it very, very well. Like much better than you've ever learned it before. But it's a little bit, I could do that, and we could try it. Might work, I don't know. You have to be willing to do it. If you don't do a good job, then it's not a good thing, right? If I let somebody come up here and do it, and explain something and they don't do a good job, that's really a waste of our time. So that's not good. But if the person does a good job, then it's great. But then we still have the other problem of everybody has to listen to them, which is not good. But the problem is that, in my experience, is that if we do it another way, like let people work on problems, it really slows down how much material you can cover. So it's a trade-off. So if I'm always talking, I can go much faster than if we do it kind of interactively. And so this is a trade-off, and I don't know the answer. I don't know the best way. So if you have any suggestions, I'm more than happy to hear them. But we'll see what we can do about it. Okay, so anyway, you've seen that you have this homework. So you have to do that. What else? We went through everything. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So let's just go around the room and introduce yourself and say what your major is. Okay, what you want to, what your major is, and your name. And if you have a big mouth, you can say more. Okay, let's go ahead. What's your name?
My name is Suan.
What's your major?
Majoring in APN.
APM, what in APM?
Trying to get accounting.
What?
Trying to get accounting.
Accounting, okay. Next person?
Hi, my name is Mary Yan, but you can call me Megan.
Megan, okay.
And I'm APS.
APS, and what are you focusing on?
In APS, I'm focusing on tourism and hospitality.
Tourism and hospitality. Okay, so yeah, just say what you're focusing on. Yeah.
My name is Shiraz Ahmed, and I'm focusing on marketing.
Marketing, okay. Yeah.
My name is Martin, and I'm focusing on management.
On what?
Management.
Management.
My name is Taiki, and I'm focusing on management also.
Management, okay.
My name, you can call me Sida, and I am focusing on MIS and IT.
MIS and IT, okay. Next person. Black shirt. Yeah, you.
My name is Son, and I'm in management in APM.
Management. Okay, next.
My name is Channel, and I'm focusing on management. Also.
Management. Okay, next person.
My name is Abigail. I'm taking Accounting and Finance.
Accounting finance. Okay.
My name is Lydia. I'm in Culture, Society, Media.
What is it? Culture, society, and media. Oh, okay, right. Yes.
My name is Lee, and I'm focusing on marketing.
Marketing. Next.
My name is also Lee, and I'm focusing on management.
Management. Next.
Please call me Olivia, and I'm an exchange student.
You're what?
I'm an exchange student.
Exchange student. Okay. What? Well, just curious. What's your major?
In my home university.
Yeah.
Financial management.
Financial management. Okay. And?
My name is Mike.
Yeah.
I'm here because APM, I'm focusing on management, but I also heard that business mathematics, advanced mathematics is easier than fundamental math. So,
That used to be true, actually. I don't. When did you hear that?
I sort of Googled it.
What? You looked in Google. Yeah, that was true about 2 or 3 years ago because we had a really good book in fundamental math, but it was super hard. And it was a kind of mistake, actually, because the point is that fundamental math is supposed to be easier. But it was a really good book, but it was super hard, very abstract. But we switched back to a regular book, so it's not true anymore. But I don't know, maybe it's still true, I'm not sure. Yes?